Music in the Cafe, a Lukanette alternate universe month-long fanfiction. Each day will be based on a writing prompt from the Lukanette September 2019 calendar. I do not own this calendar. I will be linking the Tumblr post I found it in the description box below. Thank you for reading, listening, or watching. Please enjoy. Day 15. Missed Connection. It was weird, to say the least, for Marinette to open shop and not have Luca as her first customer. It made her more tired in a weird way. She felt like she was in a daze, just waiting for Luca to walk through the doors. Every chime made her flinch and her heart jump. "Tired?" Tiki asked when she put on her apron. Marinette nodded and rubbed her eyes. "Yeah," Marinette said. Despite talking excitedly to her usual customers, it drained her more than usual. She stirred the caramel flavoring into a latte. Coffee was a must today, and she'd probably have more than one cup. "I'm gonna head back up to the studio," she said, making her way out of the back and waving hello to Plag. Marinette practically fell onto her chair after setting the cup down on the desk. "I should not be dead at this time of day," she groaned. Marinette stayed there on the chair, unmoving for longer than she wanted to admit. But eventually she pulled her body straight and powered on the laptop. "I have way too much work to do." Clicking into her website and opening up her Instagram, Marinette went to check for any new orders or updated shipping details and looked into her DMs for any questions people would send her. She was a small business owner of 2 shops now. She had to be on top of things. Subconsciously, Marinette glanced at the stacks of fabric and bulk clothes in the corner of her studio. Even now, Marinette's friends were unaware of her other shop. The idea of them knowing was terrifying for sake of what they'd say if it failed. Marinette shuddered thinking about the nightmare she had a couple days prior. Perhaps it would be better if no one knew who she was, and stayed online. All of her custom stickers were hidden away in a closet in the studio, and the box decorations along with it. Though Tiki and Alia were both intrigued with the masses of clothes Marinette had made and how they disappeared so quickly, chalking it up to donations was an answer they both skeptically accepted. 97 new orders," Marinette said softly. The last time she checked the order was only about 3 days ago. There were so many orders, she was swamped and had to take more time away from the cafe to finish it all. Luckily, most of the orders were popular items that she had plenty of in stock, but she needed to make more to keep the store in stock as a whole. Normally, there were 50-some new orders every day, but considering the past 3 days, only 30 or so orders were brought in each day. Marinette pursed her lips to a side, worrying slightly. "It's fine," she told herself. Looking over at the pile of clothes, another thought raced through. It's not going to fail," she said out loud to the empty room. "There will be more today," Marinette grimaced, and the talking to herself thing was really getting out of hand. She picked up a pinned-together stack of fabric and began to thread her machine. Every business had its ups and downs. The orders would go back to normal tomorrow. There were days people didn't come into the cafe, and the same would apply to the online store. It totally didn't mean that people hated her design and told other people that they shouldn't order from her and announced a worldwide boycott on her online shop. No. It was all perfectly fine. An hour later, Marinette finished the stack of shirts and was moving on to a stack of shorts. Luckily, she had everything cut and set up together, so today was just a stitching day. She stared longingly at her phone. She wanted to call Luca to talk or maybe just hear his voice. He was probably still on the flight. He promised he'd text her when he was safe and when he landed. Marinette sighed. She was quite worried. What if there was bad turbulence? What if an in-flight emergency happened and they had to land early? What if there was a crash? Oh, Marinette hated that phones had to be on airplane mode. She never traveled by airplane. It freaked her out way too much. There was always a looming fear. No. Not like a crazy amount, like normal. Not like levels that a person with anxiety would have. A normal human worrying level about planes, Marinette told herself, almost laughing at the idea. She didn't have anxiety. Marinette was so sure of it. But the worry and longing to speak to Luca took over her self-control, and she picked up her phone and dialed his number. It rang a couple of times, and Marinette tapped her fingers on the table impatiently. "Sorry I missed your call. I must be out right now. Please leave a mess." It went straight to voicemail. Of course it would. Luca was on a plane, for heaven's sakes. Marinette sighed and hung up the phone before the beep and set it back down on the table. There was nothing else to do now. Marinette looked back at the stack of shorts that she had yet to finish and snagged one off the top. The sewing machine buzzed at an equal pace. The needle was flying, in and out, in and out, in and out. There was no music playing in the studio. The only sounds were the loud humming of the machine and Marinette's own breath. In and out, in and out. Another pair of shorts down, and another came to the needle. In and out, in and out, in and out. Marinette's thoughts swirled, and despite sewing, she was on autopilot, with nothing else distracting her mind. In and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. What was Luca doing? Was he enjoying the plane ride? Was he uncomfortable? Was he squashed up next to Lila? Was he worried about a plane crash? Did he miss her? In and out, 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 in and out. Would he call her if he landed? Would he tell her and assure her that he was safe? Would he enjoy his week in New York? Would he find a restaurant and think that maybe one day he could take her there? Would he even think of her? In and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Back stitch, back stitch, back stitch. Front stitch, front stitch, front stitch. Cut thread. Would he become close to Lila? Would they become best friends and spend countless hours laughing and smiling? Hours that she didn't spend with him. Hours where Lila had him to herself. Placed in a completed pile, new shorts under the foot of the machine. Foot down, needle in position. In and out, in and out, in and out. Back stitch, back stitch, back stitch. In and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. What would Alia do if she stumbled across these stacks of clothing orders? What would Tiki do? Say they came across her shop and figured it all out. Would they scream and shout at her for hiding it from them? Would they not even bring it up to her? In and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Marinette felt like slamming her head down on the table. Sewing was not going to distract her. The constant motion of the needle and whirling thread was only adding to her growing headache. Maybe I should take a break, she muttered to herself, pushing away from the sewing machine. Sighing, she slumped in the chair. Idly, her hand reached up to play with the earrings she had been wearing for the past couple of days. Tiki noted it the first day, saying that the gems looked beautifully bright against the midnight ink that was her free-flying hair around it. Anyone else would feel pride in creating something so many complimented on in a positive manner. But Marinette didn't know how she felt about it. Yes, it was beautiful, and the fact that she had made it on her first shot of wire bending was an achievement. But the reason she wore it wasn't spoken to anyone else. Marinette felt a little like a crazy person. She was wearing stones in hopes that it absorbed negative energy. It was a strange concept that she, honest to God, sort of believed in. She got the stones because, dear God, an old man thought that she was a crazy, anxiety-ridden person. Yeah, pretty wild reason for wearing stones from a stranger of all things. Tiki would certainly ship her off to the loony bin. "Hey, Tiki," Marinette said when she finally left her fabric cave and was headed back home. "Hello! Did you get some work done up there?" Tiki asked brightly, and Marinette nodded. "That's wonderful!" Tiki grinned. "I was wondering if you were free on the... In the middle of her sentence, Marinette's head began to spin, and she stumbled back a couple of steps. A hand flew up to the side of her head. Marinette squeezed her eyes tight. The lights were getting way too bright. "Mari?" Tiki's voice was thick with concern, and she felt something hold her up on her feet. Marinette said, rubbing her head. Oh God, was she feeling lightheaded? "Marinette, are you okay?" Marinette felt herself being pushed into something soft. A couch, maybe? Her eyes were still closed. A couple more blinks and her eyes adjusted to the bright lights, and her head began to stabilize. Next Tuesday," Marinette finally finished. Tiki stuck a straw in her mouth, and blindly Marinette drank whatever was in the cup. Cool, refreshing water. "Mary, are you okay? What happened?" Tiki asked worriedly. Marinette forced a smile. I just got lightheaded. I probably didn't eat enough," she thought back. Had she even eaten anything? What time was it? "I'm okay now, thank you," Marinette said. Tiki nodded slowly. "I'm not doing much on Tuesday. Why do you ask?" "I was gonna do a clean-out for the new season, and I know how much you like doing deep cleans." "Oh, I'm so glad you know that about me. I'd love to do a clean-out. I just did my house a couple weeks ago, and I was dying for a new space." "Sounds good. Would 3-ish work?" "Yep, so long as you don't schedule me to work then." Marinette laughed and waved Tiki goodbye. "I won't," she promised. When the redhead waved back, Marinette quietly walked back into the back counter of the cafe and snagged a pastry from the back of the display. It would probably be best to eat some things so as to not get lightheaded again. It would be especially bad while driving. Marinette grabbed her wrist and headed out the door, but she noted worriedly that the pulse was much faster than it needed to be while just walking.